Hey, folks. Today's episode is brought to you by my favorite sponsor. This is a big sign. SunsetLakeSebede.com. Use the code Left is Best for 20% off. I don't know if they sell these stickers with this Sebede.
It's pretty amazing.
But it is, I think something is catching on. Ladies and gentlemen, they have all sorts of great products there, including the Focus and Sleep Gummies, but they also have the there's a Relax Gummies with that have CBD. Well, the Focus one has lion's mane and cordyceps, and I think the Relax one has ashwagandha mushrooms, but they also have the Sebede gummies with THC. They have, and I gotta say, I just had 2 of these.
You had the THC one?
No, not the THC ones. They also have tinctures. They have smokables and keef and pre-rolls. They have Sebede fudge and Sebede lotions like this, just in case your calves get dried out, or any part of your body, I guess, theoretically.
Certainly, yeah.
All great products, all third-party tested. You can see exactly what is in these products. They have great business practices, $20 minimum wage, mostly employee-owned company. They also have great farming practices, integrated pest management. They also use no pesticides. So what you are ingesting is not laden with pesticides, et cetera, et cetera. They have great farming practices in terms of taking care of the land. They use regenerative farming practices, and they're just great movement partners. They have donated thousands of dollars to things like strike funds, refugee resettlement, food pantries, and they helped out with the last Vermont floods, carceral reform, Planned Parenthood, give directly. They've given thousands upon thousands of dollars for causes that are important to folks like you and I. And it's great product. So check it out. SunsetLakeSebede.com. Use the code Left is Best. You will get 20% off. Why do I say Sebede? So that we can talk about it in this environment, if you know what I mean.
Ask George Orwell.
Exactly. Now time for the program.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday, Tuesday, Casual Tuesday, Wednesday, Casual Hump Day, Thursday, Casual Thurs, that's what we call it, and Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, January 12th, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, contributing editor at the New Republic, columnist at The Guardian, Osita Nwanevu will be joining us. Also on the program today, David Feldman will supposedly be calling in. We shall see. Meanwhile, U.S. and U.K. strike Houthi targets in Yemen in defense of shipping lanes. Meanwhile, Israel presents its defense at The Hague and says South Africa is a bad messenger.
Procedural arguments, huh? Not anything on the merits? Interesting. Much on the merits.
Ad hominem.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Trump offers his defense in a New York courtroom. Washington Post reports Israel using secret detention sites to torture Gazans. Torture, my word, not theirs. You can decide. Bernie Sanders introduced a 502B foreign policy resolution to force debate on funding of Israel and to force the administration on issuing a report on their human rights abuses. Congress nears a tax deal which will minimally bolster child tax credit. Speaker Mike Johnson facing a Republican mutiny of his own.
Oh, who could have seen that coming?
Probing Boeing's manufacturing process. Ohio grand jury declines indictment of a woman who had a miscarriage. Talked about that story. That's good news and also still harrowing ones. Biden administration fast tracks its narrow student loan forgiveness program. And 3 days before the Republican caucus, DeSantis getting demoralized. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is Casual Friday, as we say around here.
Yes, it is.
And Emma Vigeland and I both dressed relatively casually. You don't really have that much of a...
I don't really change too much. Yeah,
No.
I mean, but
I don't really change that much, except for I wear the identical thing every day with a slight change in hue of blue.
This is like the closest I can get to wearing a sweatshirt, and that's kind of, but while still looking somewhat presentable on camera. Although
that's what's clutch about cardigans.
That's
is
debatable.
It's basically a sweaty sweatshirt with a hoodie without a hood.
A cardigan has buttons. Okay, this is really very close to a sweatshirt, but it's okay. It's okay. I mean, you're not gonna dock my commissary privileges, right?
I'm not in charge of the wardrobe at the commissary. That's a totally different department.
Oh, sorry.
All right, let's get into this. There's a lot of stuff. We're obviously going to be talking to Osita about the bombings that we've done now on Yemen, and there's been a lot of. The United States is working overtime to maintain its support of Israel's ethnic cleansing, genocide, however you want to phrase it, assault on tens of thousands of civilians assault on millions of civilians in Gaza, with the deaths and injuries to tens upon tens of thousands.
Euromed Monitor had a harrowing statistic I read yesterday. 4% of Gaza's population either dead, missing, or maimed, and that's around 90,000.
I can't even I can't even start down that path at the moment. Like in terms of I saw a report on amputations that babies are having, in toddlers. It's just shocking. But we will talk to Osita Nwanevu in just a few moments about that. In the meantime, let's talk about this. The FAA is now launched an official investigation into Boeing's manufacturing processes. It is, by any account, well overdue. This has been, Boeing's had problems, what seems like for years now. And there were air crashes in 2018, in 2019, that Boeing, planes that Boeing had manufactured.
The 737 in particular, right?
Yep.
In Ethiopia. And then I'm forgetting where that second crash was. But gets a little bit less attention because it wasn't in the United States, except now it's malfunctioning here too.
And we just saw, a Boeing whistleblower on Democracy Now! I think we played a clip of it on Wednesday, recounting how there's been even more incidents than the public is aware of. And surely if he is aware of it, the FAA has been aware of it. And so this is, one of those situations where agencies, there may be industry capture. Boeing obviously is a massive corporation. And also, frankly, the fact of the matter is you're going to see degradation of agencies after 4 years of an administration whose one of their primary objectives is to degrade agencies. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Nevertheless, this is happening. And simultaneous to the FAA finally looking at Boeing, and is a sort of concerted effort across the right-wing spectrum of coming up with another reason that these Boeing airplanes, Boeing is the manufacturer, and they sell the airplanes to different airlines. Let's just be clear on this. On Wednesday, we talked about it. Was it Wednesday? Tim Pool was saying that he thinks it's possible that maybe, well, it was unclear.
He said pilot
like,
pressurized the cabin wrong.
Right. Now, and it took about 5 minutes before, we had people on the IM saying, first of all, there's no, pilots don't.
They'll do structural inspections.
Well, they don't manually decide what the pressurization in the cabin is going to be.
It's kind of standardized.
There should be no button. There should be no button that any pilot could press anyways that says
blows the door off.
Pressurization enough so that the doors blow off in midair. I mean, that's not just how dumb it was. And we just thought like, oh, this is just Tim Pool being really stupid. But what's fascinating is that there seems to be a concerted effort in the right-wing media circles to promote this. And one has to wonder, like, is this coming from Boeing? Is it coming from the Chamber of Commerce? I mean, where
Boeing's
it is.
a huge, weapons manufacturer and has a lot of influence, not just commercial planes.
Here is Fox News, The Five.
But one of the questions has to be not just from FAA, but from Boeing's board of directors. Has the company been distracted by other priorities that don't have to do with safety? And if the answer is yes, then we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands, and air travel for the foreseeable future could be very difficult.
Pause it for 1 second. Now, we're going to go to Greg Gutfeld to weigh into this, but I think that she could be on to something.
I think she might be, yeah.
Yeah, there could be another priority that Boeing is interested in beyond safety. And let's see.
Be?
Well, I wonder what it could be. I mean, what else would be? What could possibly be Boeing's other agenda besides safety? Oh, I know, making money.
You're playing a game called capitalism.
Here is Greg Gutfeld, though, trying to sort of like three-card Monty this.
Every industry is saddled with a new priority, and that new priority came from above and told them that this had to be done. So what happened is you have a company that's based on a profit. That should be the leading thing. You need to be a successful, effective company. Then you create this parallel mission that has no profit motive whatsoever, and then people are like, oh well, we just have to do it anyway. So this suffers.
Okay. That's from Decoding Fox News. She does a great job on Twitter, pulling stuff from Fox. Now, it comes from above. You know what that means?
Yeah.
DEI. Oh, yeah. Well, okay. That's one of the other three word letters that it could have come from, DEI. But the funny part is like the idea that somehow it is not profitable for Boeing to not invest in research and development, to not meet safety standards, and instead to do stock buybacks. Yeah. So that, and understand what happens when you do a stock buyback as a corporation. There's a reason why it used to be outlawed prior to the Reagan administration. Because when you buy back your stocks, you as a company, what happens is the value of your stocks go up. Mm-hmm. And if you are a C-suite person at Boeing, or really probably any corporation, major corporation in this country, or if you're a member of the board of directors, much of your compensation is tied to the stock prices. Sometimes it's because you have stock options, sometimes it's been vested. And that is because also you only have to pay capital gains on that as opposed to wages. And so when you buy back your stock, your personal compensation goes up. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter if you are cutting back on safety procedures, or just not investing in upgrading your machinery or whatever it is. The idea that DEI is somehow influencing the engineering of doors, or the double checking as to whether bolts have been installed properly, or the fact that the Supermax didn't want to was built in such a way that it couldn't land in certain airports and therefore had to make software changes. This is all just, it's stunning.
It's just racism.
It's just racism, but also doing the double duty of covering for corporate malfeasance. Here it is on the bottom line with Dagan and Duffy on Fox Business.
Attention Boeing executives, DEI must die, not passengers on your planes. Steve Moore on the company's misguided priorities, coming up next.
Oh my God, Stephen Moore, they still wheel that dude out. Whenever they want someone to say the most hacky things under the guise of it being something to do with finance. And then if those two outlets were not enough, like it took me literally, Matt had to tell me with this. I was looking at this for hours trying to figure out. Here is Chaya Raichik,
Libs of
TikTok, the fundamentalist who, a religious person who has an issue with anything that does not support the patriarchy. Here she is with this tweet. Southwest Airlines says all female flight crew go off, Queens, and I think it's all flight attendants and pilot and co-pilot. Picture of all women.
And that plane, did it crash immediately after, or did it land safely?
Well, she wrote, they're openly mocking us. They know what they're doing. And I'm like, what is she even talking? Honestly, I was like, wait a second. Is this some type of anti-trans thing? Like, I couldn't figure out what was going on here.
Women can't drive cars. You think they can drive a plane?
She then did a tweet saying, would you feel safer with an all-male or an all-female airline crew? And now you have to understand something about being a fundamentalist like she is, subscribing to fundamentalist Judaism. Women in fundamentalist religions necessarily see themselves as inferior in many ways to men. Now they will have they'll have their own thing. In fact, I've been told by someone of similarly situated that, well, men are the head, but women are the neck, and the head cannot exist without the neck. And
isn't that from My Big Fat Greek Wedding? Anyway,
I don't know. I didn't say that, but that's what we're talking about. And of course, Elon Musk jumps in.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this is the thing that's so rich for me. This freak. How many cars were just recalled? Tesla cars were just recalled.
Yeah, all of them.
2 million for safety issues. So this guy wants to lecture the world on what transportation safety should look like. As you know, his autopilot cars also kill people in the streets. Do you want to fly in an airplane where they prioritize DEI hiring over your safety? That is actually happening. No, it's not, because this is a false zero-sum kind of situation that they're setting up.
Neither of those things is a priority. As we've already stated, profit is the priority for Boeing. It's not safety or DEI.
Of course.
Yes.
All right. In a moment, we're going to be talking to Osita Nwanevu about what's going on Yemen, Gaza, the Hague, and in this country in just a moment. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. I have always been sartorially challenged. People know that. It's not too hard to find. But and it's also very difficult for me to find stuff that I feel comfortable in when I dress up or dress nicely. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way. Men's closets were due for radical reinvention. Rhone has stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. And here is why. They are made out of like sort of like that tech fabric. It is, but they look like,
right.
I mean, beautiful dress shirts, beautiful. I mean, they are beautiful dress shirts, but
they feel like workout
they
clothes,
feel like workout
and
clothes.
you won't.
Thank you.
You won't be able to people won't be able to see it, but you'll feel it.
Exactly, and they're also much easier to care for. I've got now almost all of my button-down, dress shirts, the ones that I'll wear with a tie, are our own shirts. I got white, I got the blue, the whole. Well, that's basically my two colors. That's it. Anything in between. Also, they make really comfortable pants, and I now have a full Roan suit, which is they sell it in the sport jacket and then the pants that match. It really is amazing. You can wear it to. I mean, I've had one day where I went to like a sort of a fancy dinner, but also during the day I went to a wake, and the beauty about it is stretch fabric, breathable, flexible, and also it has something they call Gold Fusion that is anti-odor technology, so you're going to be smelling fresh and clean all day. On top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. I can't say enough about this stuff. Really try it out. And the best part about it is no ironing. It's so great for travel. The commuter collection gets you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/Majority Report. Use the promo code Majority Report. Save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to Roan, RHONE.com/Majority Report. Use the code Majority Report. It is time to find your corner office comfort. Also, today's sponsor, Nutrafol. Mentioned this the other day. They were looking to become a sponsor years ago. Tried to get Michael to try it. He was a little bit thinning on top. He wasn't interested. They came back, and I started to take it. I think even prior, before they came back, because we still had a bottle in the office. Because ultimately, I started to feel like I was thinning a little bit over here. I'm older, something like 80% of men at one point or another, start to thin out on top. But you can actually take control over your thinning. Nutrafol has science-backed hair growth supplement for men. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are physician formulated. They are 100% drug-free ingredients. They have patented their technology. It provides consistent, reliable results without compromising your sex life. They have done not just ingredient studies, but clinical tests on their final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 84% of men showed improvement in their hair 6 months after taking Nutrafol's men's hair growth supplements. That could mean less thinning, less shedding, more thickness, healthiness in their hair. With Nutrafol, building a hair growth routine is simple. You purchase online. There's no prescription or doctor visit necessary. Free shipping and automated deliveries ensure you're never going to miss a day. Again, you'll see results in 3 to 6 months. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand. Over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair, again, with less shedding. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com/men. Enter the promo code TMR. Find out why over 4,000 healthcare professionals recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com/men, spelled Nutrafol.com/men, and enter the promo code TMR. That's Nutrafol.com/men, promo code TMR. All right, quick break. When we come back, Osita Nwanevu, editor at the New Republic and columnist at The Guardian. We'll be right back after this. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigland on the Majority Report. Joining us by phone, Osita Nwanevu, the contributing editor at The New Republic and columnist at The Guardian, and also the proprietor of his Ghost newsletter that is the rival to Substack, and also apparently getting very popular at Osita Nwanevu.com. We will put a link to that at majority.fm. Osita, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So the big news, obviously, in the past 24 hours is that the U.S. and U.K. Have essentially bombed Houthi controlled areas of Yemen in response to what has been like a 6-week, 8-week campaign by the Houthis of essentially firing upon and in some instances boarding and civilian ships in the Red Sea as a way of protesting the assault of the Israelis on Gaza. Give me your first thoughts on this, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, to the extent I understand it, I think it's probably best understood as another theater of Israel's offensive against Gaza. These attacks on the ships are happening because they're an effort to sort of arrest international commerce as a way of trying to pressure Israel and its backers to cease the assault on Gaza. So I think it's best understood as an extension of that story, which we've all been following, obviously, for the last several months. And, you know, I tend to think, as I've written before and talked about before on social media, the best way to resolve this conflict is going to be a negotiated ceasefire. We're seeing a terrible, terrible offensive. I'm sure we're going to talk about what's happening at the Hague right now. But, you know, this is an extension of a horrible and, from my perspective, immoral war. And the American response to the Houthis right now, as many people have said in Congress, is being conducted without fulfilling the norm of requiring Congress's approval to engage in military action. There's this ongoing debate about whether or not, the extent to which Article 1 powers still apply. There have been so many loopholes shot into that thing over the last however many decades. It's practically Swiss cheese now. But I do tend to believe that it's important for the presidents, when they do things like this, to seek the broader approval of the public rather than kind of doing them unilaterally, especially in this case where I think more and more Americans are perturbed by what's been going on in Gaza and don't really feel that the United States should be backing a horrible and immoral war. On
the authorization front, I think in 2020 we have a Joe Biden tweet. Do we have that tweet? I put it into the Slack. Joe Biden tweeted out in response to Trump's attack on Soleimani.
Here we go. I have it here if you want me to read it. Let's be clear. This one, Donald Trump does not have the authority to take us into war with Iran without congressional approval. A president should never take this nation to war without the informed consent of the American people. He also had other statements about not getting us involved in the Middle East that he's immediately contradicting now that he's in power. So, it's quite clear that Congress should have been consulted per the
apparently
Constitution.
they were consulted, but the real question is whether they should give their consent. I mean,
yes.
And this is, what's interesting to me too about this, Osita, is that this was ostensibly a function of Operation Prosperity Guardian, and. If you're going to set up Operation Prosperity Guardian, which involved, I guess, a 20-member coalition that ostensibly was there to deter the Houthis from attacking these vessels, I mean, wouldn't that have been the time to get authorization from Congress? Because presumably, that's what you're set up to do, is to attack anybody who's attacking these vessels.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I didn't know what legal strategy the administration is pursuing here. I did read something a couple hours ago about the War Powers Resolution of 1973 and the extent to which presidents over time have engaged in a strategy where, you're required to inform Congress within 48 hours of any unilateral action taken by the executive. And then anything that you're doing is limited within a 60-day window. But over time, presidents have found ways to finesse this and report things in such a way that they're constantly extending the 60-day window. And I mean, there are all kinds of, shenanigans that go into planning and justifying operations like these. But I think you're right that the more fundamental question here is not really about the legalities of the authorization, although that's important, but fundamentally, like, should we be trying to deal with what's going on in Gaza by expanding the conflict, which is what I think these attacks do. Should we sort of play whack-a-mole with anybody who might have anything, who might be in opposition to what's going on in Gaza, or should we try to resolve the situation by pushing for a ceasefire, which I think would be more productive and doesn't risk escalating and broadening the conflict into a wider regional war.
Well, that's what the Houthis are saying. I mean, you don't necessarily need to take them at their word, and we don't need to love Houthis. And I've been saying this, like, I'm not voting for them for class president or whatever, but they've been clear that they're doing this in order to put economic pressure on the United States and Israel, and using like their regional kind of connections near the Red Sea, which is one of the most important shipping lanes in the world, in order to put that kind of pressure on the United States, feels quite straightforward. And perhaps instead of illegally striking Yemen without authorization, maybe Biden could try the ceasefire first and see if the Houthis would cease their blockade and this bombing of these commercial ships, which is what they're saying they would do. Like, maybe try that first before bombing Yemen without authorization.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly makes sense to me. I mean, I don't think it makes sense to frame what's going on, as I think some people are, as kind of, well, this is a kind of chaotic, illogical attack on the Houthis' part, or, an extension of piracy or something like that. There's a very clear strategic objective that is worth taking seriously. And I just don't know that, even from a logical standpoint, set the ethics of what's going on aside, even from a logical geopolitical standpoint, expanding the conflict in this way doesn't seem to me to be the wise course for Biden here.
This is the thing that I find sort of really sort of difficult to parse out, because and I put up this graphic because one of my theories is, and you can't see this this cartoon, but we're going to put up this cartoon. It is U.S. military jumping out of paratroopers jumping out of a plane. This is from ages ago. And one paratrooper turns to the other. This is your first re-election campaign, kid, asking a question. And like I'm trying to find the sort of like the rationale here. What the Houthis are doing is very much in their benefit. Apparently, from their perspective, they're having troubles, in terms of like having to govern now, as opposed to be waging this ongoing conflict between, the bombing campaign that had gone on for years from Saudi Arabia with an assist from the United States. And so in terms of strengthening themselves domestically, the U.S. and UK and whomever attacking them is a benefit. All of this seems to have been like relatively predictable, as you say. This is not a random thing by the Houthis. And I mean, certainly, like, within the first week of Israel's attacks, response to the attacks on October 7th, we were doing interviews about the expansion of this conflict. And it seems like the Biden administration, it is unclear that there's any price that they aren't willing to pay. And I mean, both in terms of like U.S. foreign policy interests and just crass political cost associated with it in support of Israel's complete unfettered, right to respond and kill as many civilians as they deem necessary or want to kill. I mean, that's what I find so bizarre about this. That there is not even like the typical, realpolitik associated with this.
Yeah, it's been really remarkable to watch. And the argument has always been on Biden's part, well, we'll make these public statements, but you should know that behind the scenes we're doing everything we can to sort of encourage Israel to change course. We had that story a couple of days ago, I think, about Israel moving to a different stage of the offensive in Gaza is going to be more targeted. But that's all kind of talk. What we see happening right now is the same fundamental conflict I think we've seen since early October. I think we're at 23,000 or so Palestinians who've been killed. The bombings are continuing. On Israel's part, the putative objective of rescuing the hostages has been kind of a joke. I think they've rescued one in offensive action. They've killed several. I think the 100 or so that have been released through negotiations with Hamas, I believe. So there's a lot of what seems like irrationality happening, both in terms of Israel's own justification of what's going on, but also our willingness to back it to the hilt. And I think what's interesting about that meme that you mentioned, I have seen that cartoon before, is that it was, it's from ages ago. And I think maybe like the earlier Iraq days or something, where I think the standard line in American politics when it came to foreign conflict was, well, when presidents really having a trouble domestically, when they need people to rally around them, they might engage in some kind of foreign adventure that'll rally, the flag, create this kind of rally around the flag effect. I don't think we're in that same political world anymore. I think that Americans are very, very wary of international conflict generally, Middle Eastern conflict, specifically after Iraq. And I don't think that, any of this has been helped Biden at all since October. I think that he's losing key constituencies within the Democratic Party base. We'll see if they come back over the course of the year that we move into a general election. But all of this has been tremendously politically costly because I think we're in an environment now where Americans are so weary and tired of resources being expended to no real purpose in the Middle East. And in ways that actually probably make us less safe. I think that's the fundamental reality of this. And if Biden can't see that, he's blind. It's really mystifying to watch, as you say. I can't really make sense of it.
I think I agree. I think like the extension of Biden's sort of like 1993 politics seems to be operative here. I think Bill Clinton, his first sort of military attack, I think was on Iraq, if I'm not mistaken, in like maybe a year out from his first reelection. I think maybe it was earlier. Maybe it was halfway through his first administration. But there is definitely a sense of like because the other thing that Biden is risking here, it seems to me, and I think you're absolutely right. And again, this is sort of the crass political talk of this. Like obviously this is. The morality of this, I think, is pretty clear to me. But the immorality. But from a just a political calculation, the other aspect of this is that if you look at the charts of like the cost of shipping containers has shot up through the roof in the past 2 weeks, and this is like at a time where the inflation numbers, and I think you tweeted this out the other day, the inflation is still weighing incredibly heavily on the American public. And the idea that you're going to trade Israel's ability to sort of like ceaselessly kill civilians for inflation, for use of military, a widening conflict, for undermining your own sort of like a political coalition. It is beyond baffling. And usually in these instances, it's just like incompetence. I mean, I think they really don't understand how this era is fundamentally different, at least in terms of like people under the age of 40, it seems to me.
Right. Which is a lot of people. I mean, it's not just, young, lefty people like me. It's just, I think the American public in general has changed. And I wonder about the extent to which Biden can perceive that. But I also think part of what's happening here is that Biden really does himself, as an individual, have a real history of being very, very pro-Israel. I think it's part of who he thinks he is as a politician. I think that backing Israel is something he thinks is sort of fundamentally important to him. I think Frank Thor's book got at this a little bit, The Last Politician. He talks about the extent to which, since the 1970s, Biden has adopted this as a core part of his political brand. A lot of things have changed about Joe Biden. His appeal to the change your record. That has not fundamentally changed in any way. And so that might be part of what's going on here too. It's hard to understand otherwise, for the reasons you're talking about. It's a matter of pure political self-preservation, why he'd be so committed to the course that he's on, without any real sign that he's thinking about changing very much.
And it also undercuts almost like the primary narrative of his reelection campaign, which is that Donald Trump represents an existential threat to the United States, project, as it were. And it seems like Biden is willing. I mean, it has like a sort of like a double impact, right? Because it's demoralizing for people who even accept that premise, because Biden is fundamentally undercutting that project with his sort of, like you say, I think it is. I mean, it's even, I don't even know if you can call it ideological. It's in terms of, it is so strident.
Trump's bragging today about how he's saying that, they used to say I would cause World War III. Now look at Biden. If I come into office, we're going to end all the wars. And like, obviously that's a silly thing for him to say. This is the guy that struck Soleimani, and I have no faith that he would be any better than Biden on this. But he sees it politically as an opportunity for him to differentiate himself. And to Sam's point, like Biden, his proposition is, I'm the stabilizing candidate. I'm going to bring us back to a moment of peace, of stability, and I'm the empathy candidate. And in his support of Israel's campaign of mass killing in Gaza, that is a complete differential. That's not compatible with that framing.
No, I think that's right, and it's just going to drag on and on and on. And politically, the best thing for Biden would be a ceasefire. I mean, imagine that, like being the president who managed to end the conflict rather than somebody who sort of fuels the flames and has it drag on. I think it seems like for the next several months. I don't know what Israel's objectives are. There were these stories, even in the Wall Street Journal from a few months ago, about how American officials behind the scenes were troubled by the extent to which there was no plan. There just wasn't any kind of sense of, even if you were managed to root out Hamas and what you're imagining is going to happen, what is the post Hamas Gaza look like? How do you stabilize things? Who's the authority there? There was never a plan. And so this thing is going to continue being a ball of chaos for the foreseeable future. And I do think that the best thing, even politically for Biden, will be to wind things down and to make it look like he's brought stability to the situation rather than exacerbated it. Right now, I think he looks ineffectual. He's backing a war that doesn't seem to be achieving any of its, ostensible objectives. Thousands and thousands of people are being killed. We're seeing all these images of children without limbs. We now have this trial going on. South Africa brings genocide charges against Israel before the international community. None of this looks good. None of this seems like it's building up Biden's image of this, as you say, like this statesman who's going to bring order and stability to the world stage. It all seems like things are kind of flaming out of control in ways that I don't know. Biden doesn't seem responsive to and doesn't seem to really care enough to stop.
I want to get to that trial in the Hague in just a second, but what happens if the Houthis, who again, they've been subject to bombing campaigns by the Saudis for literally nearly a decade.
Yep.
And so it seems to me that if there's anybody, any group in the world at this point that you're not going to deter from their agenda by aerial bombardment, it would be the Houthis at this point, right? And so what happens when they don't stop? Like what happens? Because either this coalition begins to sort of ramp up what they're doing, or they end up looking like they're ineffectual, and this coalition of 20, U.S. allies is essentially rendered ineffectual by the Houthis. I mean, what happens in this instance?
Well, who knows? I mean, I think you could say the same thing about Hamas itself, honestly. I mean, like, if we haven't learned the lesson that you cannot bomb these people into compliance, these kind of non-state or kind of non-traditional adversaries who have like real deep-seated grievances against the West, against American power. Like, if we haven't learned that you can't bomb your way to a solution in Middle Eastern conflict, I don't know when we're going to learn it. I don't think that at the end of this thing, people in Gaza are going to be more positively disposed to the Israeli state and less into Hamas at the end of this, partially because they've been so brutalized with what's going on. Similarly, the Houthis, as you said, have demonstrated a real resolve over years and years and years of very intense bombing backed by the West. I don't know when we're going to learn the lesson that these groups are to be, the conventional conflict is never going to be the solution here, and I'm not a foreign policy expert, I'm not a geopolitical expert, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what the alternatives are, but it should be clear to us that this is not going to work.
Right.
And it's worth pursuing other avenues for bringing things to settlement.
Let's turn to that the case at the Hague right now. South Africa has brought charges of genocide, and this, just to be clear with people, that this is sort of almost like a preliminary injunction part of this case, where South Africa is suggesting that there is enough indication that Israel is pursuing genocide that the ICJ should rule that it is in favor of Israel stopping, essentially. Right. But here is South African lawyer Ronald Lamola in basically presenting Israeli statements as proof of the genocidal intent of the Israeli government, and pointing to that sort of the way that Netanyahu's referencing Amalek from the Bible as an indication of sort of how this information is flowing through, because of course no government says our intent is genocide, at least not these days. And here is Lamola.
Command of the state, they communicated state policy. It is simple. If the statements were not intended, they would not have been made. The genocidal intent behind these statements is not ambiguous to the Israeli soldiers on the ground. Indeed, it is directing their actions and objectives. On 7 December 2023, Israeli soldiers proved that they understood the Prime Minister's message to remember what the Amalek has done to you as genocidal. They were recorded by journalists dancing and singing. We know our motto, there are no uninvolved, that they obey one commandment, to wipe off the seed of Amalek. The Prime Minister's invocation of Amalek is being used by soldiers to justify the killing of civilians, including children. These are the soldiers repeating the inciting words of their Prime Minister.
I'll read these. It's being sung in Hebrew. I'm coming to occupy Gaza and beat Hezbollah. I stick by one mitzvah, to wipe off the seed of Amalek. I left home behind me. Won't come back until victory. We know our slogan. There are no uninvolved civilians. I mean, that's pretty compelling argument that Netanyahu says, cites their duty relative to the biblical sort of story of Amalek, and Israeli soldiers are, and not every Israeli soldier obviously caught on video, but certainly these Israeli soldiers both repeat the citation of Amalek, which is where you must annihilate all of their seed, and literally saying it's our slogan. Like, we know our mantra. There are no uninvolved civilians. And yet, when we watch CNN, we'll see spokesperson after spokesperson says no one takes the care with civilians like we do.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all incredibly perverse. Honestly, in the very early weeks of the conflict back in October, I see statements from Israeli officials or people in Israeli society, saying things like, oh, there are no innocent civilians, they need to be punished to a point where they're not willing to back Hamas anymore, and that will involve curbing their resources and denying them food and all these kinds of things. Like, I initially assumed a lot of those were like mistranslations. Like, surely they were not being that explicit about the language and logic of collective punishment. But they weren't, I mean, we've heard over and over and over again now, these overt statements blaming everybody in Gaza for what happened on October 7th, suggesting that because of an election years and years and years ago, a Palestinian election years and years and years ago, that Hamas won. Well, that sort of means that Hamas has enjoyed the support for all of the actions they've undertaken since then by the entirety of the Palestinian community. We see all these efforts to sort of to collapse and erase the distinction between an innocent civilian and the combatants that I think point to real eliminationist intent here. And I think a lot of the Israeli cases rested on the idea of the Holocaust being definitional, in that a genocide is when you are actively trying to eliminate every single person who belongs to an ethnic group or religious group, as was the case in the Holocaust. And that's not necessarily, what genocides mean. All that you have to do to demonstrate genocide, as far as I understand it, as a matter of international law, is that you are targeting a group of people on the basis of their identity with eliminationist intent. Even if you don't actually succeed or try to eliminate all of them, you are basically denying their humanity, and engage in a concentrated attack on their community. And I don't think that there is a way to read what we're seeing right now happening in Gaza as being anything but that. Especially, as we're hearing more and more about this idea of shoving everybody over the border into Egypt, this idea that Gaza will only be stabilized with a kind of mass removal of the population. We're hearing, I think, IDF soldiers and other people in Israeli society talking about resettling the area. This is all. It doesn't really get more.
It's textbook.
Blatant,
it's textbook. Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward.
Germany has joined as a third party in South Africa's case against Israel to defend Israel. To your point about obviously the deep generational wounds of the Holocaust here, the idea that Germany feels that it's appropriate in any way for them to weigh in at all. I mean, honestly, they should be recusing themselves in this instance, but they are coming to the defense of Israel here in a fairly unprecedented way. Everything you're saying, paired also with Netanyahu kind of scrambling and making a speech in English the day before the proceedings began to say that they have no intention of permanently occupying Gaza and ethnically cleansing Palestinians. I mean, I don't know if they're the fact that they're even engaging in the defense when they previously boycotted these kinds of proceedings for decades indicates to me that they might be a little bit worried.
Yeah, as they should be. I mean, this has been a tremendous disaster for Israel's image. I think that all of the tumult in American politics right now is a real shift. The idea that you cannot expect defense from every portion of American society for whatever Israel does from here on out is, I think, a tremendous change. As much as the administration is trying to hold the old alliance together, I think that more and more Americans are really disturbed by what they're seeing, and I think that the trial is only going to deepen that as it continues. I don't think we're going to expect a real ruling on this for possibly for many years, but if in these preliminary proceedings, the fact that we've been having them in the first place and entertaining this question, I think, is going to be a real blow to the Israeli image, and I think it'll probably have a lasting effect, and hopefully it'll apply more pressure and be more of an inducement to wind things down in Gaza.
Yeah. Lastly, I want to play this one clip too. The sort of like knock-on damage that this is doing to the Biden administration credibility, to U.S. credibility. I mean, and I'm not talking about mine personally, credibility with me. I'm talking like even in sort of like a broader, sort of more diplomatic circles, it really seems like farcical and just bizarre at this point. This is John Kirby having to answer the question. And what's fascinating about this is there's no refutation. This is simply just sort of like almost like a category question. He is asked by, and do we know the name of this reporter? He's asked by a reporter, we'll get her name in just a moment, whether cutting off Palestinians' access to water and food is in and of itself a war crime. And this is Kirby's response.
As you know, you dismissed a few days ago the case that brought by South Africa against Israel at the ICJ. Did you read the indictment? And if you did, do you believe that cutting off water, electricity, and fuel on a civilian population does not constitute a war crime by itself, nothing else?
Yes, I read the indictment, and as I said, and we stand by what we said about this. We find it without merit. We find it counterproductive, and I'll leave it there.
I mean, so he can't even answer that fundamental question. That seems to be really problematic. If the U.S. government now is incapable of even answering that question as a general manner.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a good position to be in. I saw somebody writing, I think it was earlier today, this argument that, Israel might be committing war crimes, but war crimes are not necessarily genocide. And to me, if that's the argument you're having, if that's where the debate is, you've basically lost. Yeah. I mean, there's no, that's not where you want to be. And it's not where we want to be as a country. Having split hairs in that particular way, it should be clear. And I think it is clear to most people that at the very, very, very least, the Palestinian people in Gaza are being put through something without recent precedent in modern warfare, both in terms of the intensity of the bombing, in terms of the indiscriminate nature of it, how packed in they are. I mean, it was clear at the very outset when we think about the density of Gaza and the 2 million people who live there. I think half of them are children. That this was going to be something horrific. And indefensible, and something that was not going to be, conducive to establishing a lasting peace in the region and addressing the root causes of what happened on October 7th. Everybody knew that. And what we've gone through, as we've watched it happen in the last couple of months, are these different stages of denial and petulance on the part of the administration. And Kirby in particular, I think, has been very kind of dismissive and haughty about all of this in his statements. I don't know if he's well suited to being a spokesperson anywhere. But if all the administration can do and all Israel can do is deny or reject the premise of these questions without attending to the realities of what's going on the ground, without returning to the realities of what the Israeli officials have said, it's a real shame, and I think it ultimately does hurt the administration in a narrow political sense that I don't think they fully appreciate.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It is really. I think there's just an amazing amount of hubris, but also incompetence and bizarre ideology. I think that's driving this thing, and that is, I find, even from the most cynical of lenses, to be sort of shocking. Osita Nwanevu, thanks so much for your time today. We will put links to your. Well, actually, the best place for you is OsitaNwanevu.com because you can see all of your writing. You send people to your Guardian and New Republic pieces, so we will link to that. Thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to David Feldman. I'm not sure exactly where he is, but we will be talking to David Feldman. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, folks. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. As I think at least some of the folks who listen to the program know, we got a huge Arctic blast hitting the Midwest just in time for the Iowa caucuses, which are, what are we looking at? About 72 hours away. And I thought we'd bring in David Feldman to give us some insight into how people think in that kind of frigid weather. He should know, since I believe he's old enough to have lived through the last ice age. David, are you with us?
Wow, that's funny. I like that. That's great. Good-natured ribbing between friends. That's great.
Well,
Thank you for that.
I don't know
That's
that
what friends do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we're not actually friends. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying friends.
You're a friend.
Yeah, I mean, friends return phone calls. They check in to see how I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I only hear from them, when they need to come on my show to promote their podcast. That's not necessarily what a friend would do.
Okay. I'm sorry, Sam. I'm sorry. I need to do better as a person, and I beseech you for forgiveness. I do. I really do. I'm asking you for forgiveness.
Okay, and
what? What?
And that's it?
I could write a letter of apology. I mean, if that's what you want, I'll write you a letter of apology.
No. I was expecting a different reaction, David. I thought you'd fight back. I like having you on the show because we get to yell at each other. You didn't really you didn't take the bait in the Feldman-esque way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Emma, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, David.
I'm sorry if I disappointed or let you down. That was never my intent. I'll fight with you if that makes you happy. Would you like a fight? Because I'll fight if that's. Is that what you would like?
No, not like this. No.
No, whatever you need. I'm here. I was put on this earth to serve others. Whatever you want.
No, whatever. That's fine. Forget it. All right. All right. So now I have a message that has been printed out for me that says here you can listen to you on the Anderson Vanderbilt show starring David Feldman. Did something change?
Ooh. Wow. Okay. My people screwed up. Oh boy. Okay. You should have been emailed a different introduction. My people really screwed up. That's okay. My people make mistakes.
Okay, but the Anderson Vanderbilt show?
I don't think I've heard of him or her or that. What is the Anderson Vanderbilt show?
Right, like Anderson Vanderbilt. I consume a lot of podcasts, David. I don't think I've ever heard of the Anderson Vanderbilt show.
Okay.
And then it says in this intro that they sent, starring David Feldman. I don't get it.
Yeah. Like I said, my people made a big mistake. We should move on. Unless you two want to, rib me for the sake of the show, I'll go along with some ribbing. Is that what you want?
No. Whatever. Just go. Let's talk about Iowa. What's happening in Iowa?
If you want to rib, we can rib.
No, I don't want to rib, David. What's happening in Iowa?
I'm a team player. If you want to rib, let's rib away.
No, I want to talk Iowa.
Rib. Whatever's good for the show, Sam, I'm here to serve.
Iowa.
Rib.
Iowa. Okay. Let's just move on.
Okay. Well, the latest poll numbers coming out of Iowa and New Hampshire are not showing the structural shift we normally see when an insurgent candidate like Nikki Haley starts to take hold. We're just not seeing any stickiness. This is still Donald Trump's party. I don't see any movement at all here. It's just, we were expecting, if something was going to happen, it would happen by now. I just don't see any shift going on.
I'm still on the Anderson Vanderbilt show part of this.
Yeah, who is Anderson Vanderbilt? Yeah. I've been there is no Anderson Vanderbilt.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. I see we want to do a little gaslighting, the two of you. That's fine. I prepared some graphs showing Trump's vulnerabilities with suburban women in New Hampshire, but gaslighting me works. We can, whatever you want to gaslight, we don't need to look at the graphs.
What are you talking gaslight? I'm sorry. But the Anderson Vanderbilt show starring David Feldman. What is that?
Yeah, I would. You'd think that it would be the Anderson Vanderbilt show starring Anderson Vanderbilt.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. If I confused or discomforted you or Emma in any way.
The Anderson Vanderbilt show starring David Feldman. I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm deeply sorry for that. Nevertheless, it is an honor to be on your show. If you want to rib or gaslight, or we could talk about 40 delegates. They're at stake Monday when Iowa voters kick off election season with Donald Trump in a commanding lead. Now, what's interesting is Trump has distanced himself from Iowa's pro-life evangelicals. As recently as Wednesday night in the Fox town hall, Trump told voters he believed in exceptions to abortion, like when a mother's life is at stake or in the case of rape and incest. And, Iowa Republicans, Sam and Emma, are among the most pro-life voters in America. So it will be interesting if Trump heads to New Hampshire with the lion's share of Iowa's delegates.
I have a question.
He's pissed off.
I have a question.
Yes.
Anderson Vanderbilt.
Yes, that's right, Emma. Anderson Vanderbilt. Yes.
Because I know that you do a show called The David Feldman Show. What is the Anderson Vanderbilt Show? You say your people sent us the wrong intro.
Okay,
What is what intro is that?
Yeah. My people, I hired a big PR firm, Ackerman McQueen. My friend Wayne LaPierre from the NRA recommended them. They're great. Ackerman McQueen for PR. They're really great. They've been busy, but we planned this big rollout. And
wait, rollout of what?
Yeah, and who is Anderson Vanderbilt?
Okay, there is no David Feldman Show anymore. Okay, that's.
Wait, I mean, was there really ever like a David Feldman Show? I mean, I know there was, but really? I mean,
Wow, good rib. That's a nice rib.
Are you not doing your show anymore, or are you?
Okay, again, this is not Ackerman McQueen planned. I'm paying them a lot of money to roll out the big announcement. Look, Wayne LaPierre from the NRA, great guy, recommended Ackerman McQueen. And, David Feldman Show, it's a thing of the past. We've reconfigured some things, and it's now called the Anderson Vanderbilt Show. And I was hoping we could all get past the mistake my people made. But if this is the direction you want to take, it's your show. I'm a guest. I'm honored to be here. I will accept some good-natured ribbing because I know you're not trying to make fun of me.
We're not, David, but we're just trying to understand. Starring David Feldman, the Anderson Vanderbilt Show, starring David Feldman.
Yeah, like I said, that was my people made a mistake. I formed a new LLC. I'm doing business, still DBA, doing business as David Feldman. And the legal paperwork didn't get filed, so to avoid confusion in the courts, my show is temporarily registered as the Anderson Vanderbilt Show starring David Feldman. But in fact, when all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, it'll just be the Anderson Vanderbilt Show.
Okay.
Wait, not starring David Feldman.
That is correct. Not starring David Feldman.
Okay, so you're what? You're producing the show?
Yeah. See, I paid a lot of money for all that. I don't care though. It's just money. This is not how I wanted to launch.
Wait. Okay. I'm unclear. Launch what? The show you're producing?
I'm not producing the Anderson Vanderbilt Show.
This is weird.
Okay.
So if you're not producing the Anderson Vanderbilt Show, are you co-hosting the Anderson Vanderbilt Show? I'm unclear here.
No. I am the host of the Anderson Vanderbilt Show.
With Anderson Vanderbilt?
No, it's just Anderson Vanderbilt.
David, who is Anderson Vanderbilt?
I am Anderson Vanderbilt. I'm Anderson Vanderbilt.
Wait, so you changed your name again?
Yeah, if you want to call it, yeah, you could say, yeah.
Okay, so you've changed your name again, even though you've done this before, and it has never worked in terms of like getting your career ignited.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Dude,
what do you
I'm old. I remember you back in the 90s, and you were doing stand-up, watching you perform under the name Troy Hollandaise.
Yeah, I don't know. It was such a long time ago.
Yeah? Well, because I also remember that after Troy Hollandaise, you were doing stand-up as The Spear.
Again, if you say so, I'm not sure I ever asked to be introduced as the Spear. That seems...
I get notes for you. I remember. It was in Harvard Square, Catch a Rising Star in Cambridge, Mass. I don't think that club is there anymore. I still have one of the Spears 8x10s that you had in that club. It was an edgy comic, if I remember, who wasn't afraid to tell the truth about everything except for the fact that his real name was David Feldman.
You mean Anderson Vanderbilt?
I'm sorry, Anderson Vanderbilt. I understand now. David Feldman no longer exists.
Thank you. That is correct. David Feldman kind of like when the Queen ascended to the throne after the death of her dear papa. Remember when her dear papa died? The same way she was no longer Elizabeth Windsor. I am no longer David Feldman. I am now Anderson Vanderbilt.
David, are you okay?
Yeah, please, Emma. David is no longer here.
Anderson, are you okay?
Yes. Actually, thank you for asking. I've never been better. The anointing oils they used have had this like healing magic, and for the first time in my life, I am joyous for long stretches at a time. It's highly unusual. Long stretches of happiness.
Mm-hmm. So once again, David Feldman has changed his name.
Well, actually, Sam, the name has changed me. I'm not just Anderson Vanderbilt. I'm a completely different person. During the holidays, one of the reasons you didn't hear from me, by the way, did you get the honey glazed ham? I sent you and Emma and Matt, everybody, honey glazed hams. Did you?
Emma, this sounds very familiar to me.
People are busy. I don't need
David.
I don't need thank you notes.
No, I think he wants
David?
He wants you to call him Anderson Vanderbilt.
Anderson Vanderbilt?
I'm more than. Yes, Sam.
David, just out of curiosity, have you converted again? Because I happen to know that that David does this. Every time there's a wave of anti-Semitism, David Feldman converts. And I happen to remember when he and his second wife were traveling to Poland and Hungary, if I remember correctly, you converted to Catholicism because he thought it would make it safer if the plane got hijacked. Is that sound familiar, Anderson Vanderbilt?
Yes, Sam? You have a question? Is this
Yeah.
a question?
Did you convert again?
If you're asking if I found inner peace and I'm no longer angry, then yes. The answer is yes. I've converted, yes.
So, in other words, you're no longer Jewish.
All gone. It's been completely drained out of my system. All gone.
Okay.
Feel great.
So,
more energy. I bounce out of bed in the morning.
Once again, another wave of anti-Semitism, and your response is to stop being a Jew. Is that right?
Yes. I truly believe to remain a Jew at this time in world history would be an act of cowardice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like, I don't know, there might be an argument that it's the other way around a little bit.
I know you like an argument. I know you people like an argument, but I am not. I'm going to disagree. Maybe you could try to see it from a kinder, more loving place. Let me explain it to you, Sam. People hate Jews. They don't want them around. Okay? So I've committed what I consider the ultimate act of both bravery and kindness. I've accommodated other people's wishes, something you might want to try to walk in the light. You know, it's okay. You come to a country, you look around, okay, you people don't like Jews, fine. We can work with that. I'm here to help. I'm no longer a Jew. If that's what it's going to take for me to make you feel less uncomfortable around me, I am no longer a Jew. I converted.
Converted to what?
I haven't decided yet. Jehovah's Witnesses look awfully promising, but the important thing right now is I'm no longer a Jew.
David Anderson, you're sick. I mean, this is so sick.
Yeah, well, that's what your people do. You're judgmental, and that's okay. But, maybe if you just want to walk in the light for a second, Sam, how about instead of calling me sick, how about considerate? I'm thinking of others. It's like smoking. People don't like it when I smoke around them, so I go outside for a smoke out of respect for others. I am no longer Jewing. It's just common courtesy, Sam, and I'm happy. The anointing oils, by the way, are exhilarating, life-changing.
You keep talking about anointing oils. What is that?
Yeah, they're anointing oils. They're rare and expensive. They come from Egypt. It's a great. I don't want to. This is not a plug, okay? But I did it through Exodus International. They're a great
Exodus
organization.
International. Those guys are out of business.
No, they're still around. They better be. I paid them a lot of money to get the Jew out of me, and it wasn't easy. But they're good people. They were patient. They went in there and they said, we got it all. Then a week later, I had to go back. Apparently, they had to go back in. My body was riddled with Judaism, but they got it all. I'm 100% Jew-free. A little more, excuse me, my voice cracked there. A little more expensive than they told me it was going to cost. So between that and what Christmas cost me last month, the glazed hams that I sent it. Anyway, money's a little tight, but you know what? It's just money. Things will always take care of themselves. Exodus International is such a great organization. They've changed me. I'm so happy.
David,
I'm happy.
Anderson.
Happiness.
Exodus International, from my understanding, Mike Johnson, the speaker, he's a fundamentalist. He was a lawyer for them. Okay. They used to do gay conversion therapy, David, but gay conversion therapy, we know it doesn't work. The guy who ran Exodus International ended up apologizing. It's considered a form of torture by human rights activists. You cannot pray the gay away.
Mom! Why did you do that to me?
Exactly.
You can't pray away the gay, but you can pray away the Jew. Mike Johnson, do you know the Johnsons? They are.
He's the Speaker of the House.
His wife. I'm sorry?
He's the Speaker of the House of Representatives.
And, he's also the man of the house down in Louisiana. I know his wife. And they turned me on to Exodus International. I went down to Louisiana, and I lived in their basement for 15 days. And they helped. We just prayed away the Jew. And, of course, the anointing oils.
Yeah, you keep talking about anointing oils. These seem to have been very prominent, the anointing oils.
You can't do it without the anointing oils. They serve as a conductor of electricity. So first, Mike Johnson and his wife rub anointing oils all over my body. And then they attached battery clamps to my testicles, right? And
excuse me?
Mrs. Johnson holds the battery clamps to my anointed testicles. And then Mike Johnson, the speaker, shows me Gary Goldman's Netflix special. And if I laugh at any of Gary Goldman's jokes, they send a current of electricity through the battery clamps to fry my testicles. And I'm telling you, it worked. That, and of course, Mike Johnson and his wife and we did a lot of praying away the Jew.
Right.
They gave me a lot of counseling, and Mrs. Johnson, she told me that being a Jew is a lifestyle choice that it can lead to bestiality, and that's true. You know that, Sam. We don't need to talk about that. And I have to be careful with the groomers. Now that I'm back in New York, there are a lot of older Jews who try to convince me I'm Jewish. A lot of these groomers, but I'm wise to them. And Sam, I know you're resisting me here. Happiness. It only costs $5,000 for the whole thing. Happiness. might want to think about it. Happiness, $5,000. They got it all. They got all of it.
I don't think I'll be doing
All of
that, David. It sounds interesting, the testicle part, but I don't think I'll be doing that.
It's because of the $5,000, isn't it? You Jews, man. Wow. $5,000.
Excuse me?
Happy, and you just can't. Nothing. You're just saying you Jews. That's all.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure I appreciate what you're implying with the you Jews and the $5,000.
Who's implying anything? I'm just saying, you Jews.
You're saying that I don't want to go to Exodus International and pray away the Jew because it's expensive?
There we go again, talking about money. You Jews, it's unbelievable.
I got to say, David, you're sounding a little anti-Semitic yourself right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That means a lot to me.
You're welcome.
Sam?
Yes? Anderson?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you mind? Okay. Your cousin Rita, is she single now? Cousin Rita?
My first response is, how do you know I have a cousin Rita? And because my second response is, yeah, she's just gone through a divorce.
Okay, so she's single.
Yeah.
She's single. Okay. And do you think she might go out with me?
No, I don't think so. No.
Do you think you could put a word in for me? Because I'll tell you, I'm really turned on these days by Jewish women. They're so exotic. I don't know what it is, but ever since I got back from Louisiana, I can't stop thinking about Jewish women.
Well, I'm sorry, you're not her type.
Oh, because I'm not a Jew. It's because I'm not Jewish. You people, man, you are so clannish. It's like wow. Because I'm not a Jew.
Right,
okay, that's
right.
fine.
I think we're done here. Danderson,
Okay,
Anderson,
Danderson.
Davidson.
She's very pretty.
Yeah. Okay, we're done.
I'd be willing to convert to Judaism.
Great talking to you once again,
she's
as
really attractive.
always.
I could
That was terrific. Anderson, what's his
Vanderbilt.
name?
Anderson
Vanderbilt, or nay, David Feldman. I go with God, I guess, is really I could say.
You better.
Wow, that was not what I had anticipated hearing from the former David Feldman. That was a little bit of a twist.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
He's really anti-Semitic.
He's really
anti-Semitic.
This
Sorry,
was
folks.
actually literally a clip from, I think it was the Exodus International folks at the time.
Why did you do that to me?
I'm not implying that David's various identities that he has picked up over the years is any function of his mother at all. I don't know. One can only guess. I guess we're going to head to the fun half. Folks, it is your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajority.report.com. When you do, you not only make this, you only get the free show free of commercials, you get the fun half, and most importantly, you make it possible for us to do the show day in, day out. If you enjoy the program, jointhemajority.report.com. Also, don't forget justcoffee.coop. The just is because this is a co-op, and the way that they treat their farmers, whether they are from, I think, West Africa, or I should say East Africa, and I know down like in the Zapatista region and Chiapas, the justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, featuring the Majority Report blend and a bunch of other blends as well. Use the coupon code Majority, get 10% off. Don't forget our merch store. A lot of people have been now sporting the dog collars.
Oh,
Sometimes,
yeah.
mostly for their dogs. But I mean, I'm not going to
Not going to judge.
I'm not going to judge. You can get the Posit dog collars there, but also we have a bunch of other stuff. Shop.majorityreportradio.com. And don't forget the AM Quickie. Jacob Silverman, Corey Pine, switching off every other week, giving you some of the top stories for the day and stories that you probably might miss. All like in, I don't know, 5 minutes worth of 7 minutes worth of reading, 5 minutes, really. Check it out, amquickie.com. 3 times a week is free. If you want it 5 times a week, small, I think it's like $2 a month or something, $4. I can't remember. But Emma, ESVN, what's up?
We had Matt Leck on, filling in for Bradley yesterday. We spoke about Aaron Rodgers' meltdown on Pat McAfee, Belichick leaving the Patriots. Sorry, Sam. The dynasty is over. Some NBA chatter, too, with Matt and Bradley from his honeymoon. Gave us his picks for Wildcard Weekend, which we went through, youtube.com/ESPN show.
Matt!
Yeah, Left Reckoning Tuesday night, we had Sudeep Bhattacharya on to talk about Asian American politics and class politics. And also this weekend, Sunday, I'm going to be talking to Rob Rousseau about being canceled by Elon, the free speech billionaire. Patreon.com/Left Reckoning to get access to that.
All right, folks, going to take a quick break. Fun half.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second. Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports. We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Who libertarians? They're so stupid, though. Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge Matt.
I'm positively quivering. I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
You can call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all, my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the week being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
We are back. 646-257-3920 is the number. We'll take some phone calls. I forgot to turn on my little Adium thing there. Sam's hanging Chad. Sam, are you guys going to be sticking it to big tech? I mean, sorry, big con by participating in hashtag clean slate? Does anybody know what that is?
Mm-mm.
No idea what that is.
I do not know what that is. So I doubt I will be participating in said thing. Is the video with Israeli soldiers chanting about the seed of Amalek they showed at the ICJ case against Israel good evidence the Israeli government supports genocide? I'm sure a lot of our soldiers in the Iraq War did similar things, but it's not indicative of genocide.
That's not the only piece of evidence they're presenting, and it's just meant to say that, like, what Netanyahu said with the Amalek is being understood by the soldiers who are doing the killing.
Without a doubt. I mean, this is what you're showing is a question of intent. And in this instance, obviously, you'd have to prove that, like, I don't know, there was an incredible rate of civilian deaths, but that soldiers in the field are specifically referencing something the leadership of the country said, and interpreting it as their slogan that there are no non-involved civilians, I think is actually a really strong piece of evidence that there was that this is coming from the top and it is operating the way we want to. One of the things about the torture regime, why Rumsfeld, I think couldn't go to Europe, was the argument was that the Bush administration, particularly via Rumsfeld,